Well, hello, everybody. It's Hank Linderman here at Getting Angry. Wednesday, September 16th. The year is 2020. Are any of us going to forget this year of 2020? I don't think I will. Let's get a look at the lake. This is a live shot of the lake here at Falls of Rough. Look how beautiful that is. I don't hear very much. It's really quiet out. Wow. Well, anyway, what a beautiful day it is. We're supposed to have a good couple of weeks here at Falls of Rough. Hi, everybody. I'm Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress in Kentucky's 2nd District. That's from just south of Louisville down to Bowling Green, and from Owensboro across to Danville, 21 counties. You know them, you love them. I repeat them all the time. We don't have to do that right now. And here we are. It just continues to get stranger and stranger. Look at the book that just arrived in the mail today. I'm so excited to start reading this. I just can't wait. So I'll definitely be reading that. So let's look and see who's here. Bill McNichol is here. Cindy Braun Franklin is here. She's sharing. Yes. Mary Richardson says, howdy. Oh, and she says, nope. I hope you saw my nope button. Are you wearing your nope button? Chris Pritchard is here. He's already shared. Jim Porter is here. Jim, you're going to share, aren't you? All right. Everybody's got their nope buttons, and I've got some more to send out here pretty soon. Well, we got a lot to talk about. We don't have a guest today, unfortunately. Now, tomorrow we're going to have a wonderful guest, and I'll be talking about him in a bit. But let's get down to business. What do you say? Let's start talking about, the numbers. What do you say? I almost need theme music for the numbers because they're a little bit depressing. So I think I'm going to think about what to do. The USA has now passed 200,000 people dead. So that's as of yesterday, just terrible. 200,000 people. We say this again and again. This is a failure of our national leadership. It's a failure of our healthcare system. It's so many failures that made us, unfortunately, the leader in the world in terms of cases, in terms of deaths, and it's not getting any better, and it's unlikely to get any better for a while because we remain 6 weeks away from doing the right thing, which of course is to go Godzilla. That's what we need to do. By that we mean shut the economy down for 6 weeks. You know, the gestation period for the virus, it takes 2 weeks for it to show up. So if we shut down for 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks to be sure, then that should get the virus under control. And it does mean we'd have to pay people to stay home. Yes, that's good use of our money. It would be a bargain. Think of all the people that would still be alive if we had done the right thing. I'm just appalled, honestly, at how terribly we've done. Well, more numbers. California, Texas, and Florida. Just yesterday, we had 1,200 deaths. Let's go back to yesterday. Almost 1,200 deaths, 1,197 dead. And a little bit more than a third of them come from 3 states, California, Texas, and Florida. They're all bunched together. So I think you all understand what's going on. Kentucky remains, we're doing well because notice the number that is deaths per million is 240, which is compared to, go back to 604 for the United States at large. So Kentucky is still doing better, but we're not doing well enough. And I've got some more scary numbers for you. Sorry. Notice that we're starting to see a dip up again. This is what looks to be the beginning of the third wave of the coronavirus. See, the first one is back between April and May. That's the first one. Then we had another one in July and August, and now we are starting a third wave. Oh, my goodness. This is terrible. What can we say? The same answers apply. We're going to have to get serious about so many other nations have done a better job than us, and it's really easy to see why. They shut their economies down. They were aggressive about testing. It's still to the point that depending on where you are, you may not be able to get a test without symptoms, and that's not acceptable. So we'll be talking about more of that. Now, as a progressive populist, and by the way, we're taking the term populist back from Republicans. Trump talks about himself as if he's a populist, as if he does things for the people. He really doesn't. He gives lip service and he acknowledges people, but he doesn't really do anything for the working people of this country, and he certainly doesn't do anything for rural America. The tariffs have put farmers out of business and so on. But populism is not a conservative idea. In fact, it originated in Kansas in the late 1800s, and it was a revolt of liberal farmers, and they actually got somewhere. And there's a book that you can read that I don't have in front of me called The People No by Thomas Frank. I strongly suggest you get a look at Thomas Frank, and I may find some bits from him to play for you all because he's really got it. He's really got it together in terms of philosophically where we need to go forward as the Democratic Party and also as a nation. Basically, the idea is neither party has done a good job for rural or working America. And of course, that's why I have been proposing the contract for rural and working America. And that is, based from being on the ground for the last several, closing in on 3 years now, I've been doing this. And so listening to people, but also the influence of Thomas Frank has been very important, and he's written a lot of great books. So we'll talk about him more and more later. Anyway, back to our discussions about, as progressive populists, we complain about the president all the time. And, fair enough. But it's interesting that there's a fair amount of conservatives who are weighing in. As we showed you, Bob Woodward has his new book, Rage, which apparently has all sorts of things that President Trump doesn't care for and his supporters are having trouble with. Bob Woodward, from all that I can tell, is probably a Republican. He's no progressive. He's no Bernie Sanders type. So that's going to be very, very interesting for conservatives to start to get the idea. But I tell you all the time about the Bulwark, and one of the things they do, Suzanne Michaels is here. Suzanne, thank you. Suzanne shared. Thank you. That's so great. Did I miss anybody else? Jim Porter shared. I'll always count on you, Jim. Anyway, the Bulwark is... Thebulwark.com is a conservative website, and they also send out emails, and I look forward to their emails, and I read them every single day. And here's one that came in today. And the headline is Truth and Reconciliation. And I'm not sure I've got the pages in order. Here we go. Here we go. Who do I yell at? I'm my own staff. Anyway, this is from the Triad, which is one of the emails that gets sent out by the Bulwark, and I'm going to read from this email. I want to talk some more today about the question we asked yesterday. If and when Trump leaves office, should he be prosecuted for possible crimes, or should prosecutors decline to pursue him? First, asking this question assumes a Trump loss in 2 months. This is not a given. Should Trump win, we can't even begin to answer the question because we have no idea what the world will look like in 2024. Second, there are middle grounds. In other words, we don't have to decide, let him off the hook or lock him up. More than one reader, and this story has been discussed earlier, this idea has been discussed earlier. And by the way, the Bulwark came on the side of prosecution. those of you that are old enough to remember, President Nixon could have been prosecuted, but he was pardoned by Gerald Ford, his vice president. And I personally think that was a problem, that there should have been some accounting for President Nixon's actions during Watergate and so on. More than one reader suggested something like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and this idea sounds promising. The Biden administration could empower an independent commission, and they could produce a definitive nonpartisan report, but with the express understanding that the Department of Justice would not be pursuing charges against the Trump family for any violations of law that were uncovered. And that President Biden would himself, if need be, pardon them. So I have a caveat right away. If this is what we're going to do, if we're going to let him off the hook, then the only way that this happens, in my opinion, is if Trump and his family admit guilt and remove themselves from the public sphere, meaning no more television shows, no more media appearances, withdrawing from politics, no comments on politics, that they be censured. In other words, they can't go out and make money on Fox News anymore or buy their own networks. And if they refuse to accept that, that's fine. Then we can prosecute and talk about putting them in prison. I'm back to the bulwark now. This would have the benefit of establishing a clear record of what happened between 2016 and 2020 inside the federal government and marking the cards of everyone who was complicit, but it would stop short of moving us into banana republic territory where the new president puts the old president in jail, and that does make sense. And they go forward to say, as for state attorneys general, they're on their own. If they've got crimes to prosecute, that's on them. And again, according to JVL here, the bulwark, if the implications of state prosecutions to the larger political order, they seem less worrisome to the bulwark. Another course that the Biden administration can take, especially if Democrats have control of Congress, is to use the findings of such a report to pass legislation ruling in the executive branch, because, of course, Donald Trump is an out-of-control executive. And, I think that's an interesting idea. The bulwark makes the point that the conditions for the danger that Trump took advantage of were primed by 20 years of executive overreach by both Democratic and Republican presidents, and also by Congress abdicating its oversight responsibilities. So I think I agree with that, that it would be a good idea to move forward with a truth and reconciliation. I do think that if we're going to forgive them for their crimes, they must admit to the crimes. They must not be protected by the Fifth Amendment, meaning you're already you've got a get out of jail free card. So that means you can't hold back on any questions without putting yourself in contempt of court, which again, you could be put in prison for. So the next thing we're going to talk about is, I guess this will be the town hall. Let me see what I've got here. This is a response from the town hall. And this is, again, these are from the bulwark. And these are Twitter responses from various people. Watching the ABC Trump town hall, my takeaway thus far is this is a president who still hasn't adjusted to the fact that 2020 is not the year he wanted it to be. And someone else says it's striking and rare to see regular people confront the president with tough, challenging, and urgent questions, and then to follow up or push back. Trump can't simply yell fake news or demean them as he does so often presidents. And he said a bunch of things. Again, from the bulwark. I confess that I'm not normally a fan of televised town halls where presidential candidates pretend to engage with real people. But last night's event on ABC was a revelation. It revealed just how genuinely bad at this Trump is and how poorly his shtick plays when he's not surrounded by fawning superfans. He had no teleprompter and couldn't even use the enemy of the people as his foil. He was exposed. So we got a stream of demonstrable BS. The bulwark doesn't say BS. They use the complete term. like his claim that despite his own words on tape and a huge public record, he claimed he had actually upplayed the virus. And as the New York Times noted, then Mr. Trump downplayed it again, insisting the virus would disappear on its own and contending we're rounding the corner. Remember, this is yesterday. Well, it was Monday's town hall. The day after that, we hit 200,000 deaths in the United States. Now, President Trump made a mistake. He said something, and Pam pointed out to me that, Joe Biden makes mistakes. But sometimes these are little Freudian slips. He said, quote, "You'll develop like a herd mentality," he said. It's going to be herd developed, and that's going to happen. This will all happen. We believe he meant to say herd immunity, but herd mentality also applies to the Trump administration and his followers. He got into it quite a bit with George Stephanopoulos. And George Stephanopoulos pushed him pretty hard on it. Let's see if I can get a picture of George. Let's see if George is here. Oh. Charles Sykes is from the Bulwark. I'm going to make you read this yourselves. He says, this is not exactly breaking news, but he's responding to a tweet from someone. Charles Sykes is a conservative, folks. The conservatives are noticing what the heck is going on. That's pretty incredible, I think. All right. So anyway, here we go. Here's George Stephanopoulos, a picture of George. And this is from the Talking Points menu. I definitely suggest you have a look at it. Just a fire hose of lying. Trump's town hall was widely roasted. During this discussion, George Stephanopoulos says, "Mr. President, I have to stop you there." Trump says, "George, they have socialized." Stephanopoulos, "I just have to stop you there because it's on a couple of points. Number one, Joe Biden has run against Medicare for All in the primaries. But much more importantly, Obamacare guaranteed people with pre-existing conditions that they could buy insurance, guaranteed they could buy it at the same price as everyone else, guaranteed a package of essential benefits, guaranteed that insurance companies couldn't put a lifetime limit on those benefits. You fought to repeal Obamacare. You are arguing." Trump says, "Well, I essentially did," because Stephanopoulos keeps going. "You're arguing the Supreme Court right now to strike it down, that would do away with pre-existing conditions." Trump says no. Stephanopoulos, "You've promised," Trump, "so that we could do new health care." Stephanopoulos, "But you've been promising a new health care plan. I interviewed you in June of last year. You said the health care plan would be ready in 2 weeks. You told Chris Wallace this summer that it would come in 3 weeks. You promised an executive order on pre-existing." Trump says, "I have it all ready. It's all ready." Stephanopoulos says, but you've been trying to strike down pre-existing conditions. "It doesn't matter. I have it all ready, and it's a much better plan for you. It's a much better plan." Wow. That is a torrent of BS. It's just hard to, I hope conservatives who are paying attention to this, I hope Republicans who are paying attention to this are getting the picture. How many years have we been hearing about Republicans wanting to shut down the Affordable Care Act, what they call Obamacare? And I think over 60 times the House has voted to just repeal and replace, or just get rid of it. So now they're saying, "Oh no, we've got a plan." They've been saying they had a plan for 6 years now. It's just incredible. The next thing I want to show you is also from this event. And this is from Real Clear Politics, black man at Trump Town Hall. "When has America been great for African Americans in the ghetto of America?" And the person who's asking him a question, Pastor Carl Day, a pastor, excellent. He's from Philadelphia. He voted for Jill Stein last time. And he says, "How are you doing, Mr. President?" Trump says, "Good." And Pastor Day says, "You've coined a phrase, make America great again." Trump says, "Right." Question, when has America been great for African Americans in the ghetto of America? Are you aware of how tone deaf that comes off in the African American community? And this is Trump's response. "Well, I can say this. We have tremendous African American support. You've probably seen it in the polls. We're doing extremely well with African Americans, Hispanic Americans, at levels you've rarely seen a Republican have. I mean, he didn't really respond to the question, did he? He responded with, well, the polls, just terrible. Trump goes on, if you go back and you want to look over many, many years, you could just go back 6 or 7 months from now. That was the best single moment in the history of the African American people in this country, I would say. In response, Pastor Day says, well, your statement is, though, make it great again. So historically, the African American experience, especially out of these ghettos that have been out redlined, historically, these ghettos have systematically been set up. Yes. They've been treated the way that they've been, the conditions of drugs, the guns, everything else that's actually created the symptoms for what you see and what you profess to be just democratic cities in themselves. These things have historically been happening for African Americans in these ghettos. And we haven't seen a change, quite frankly, under your administration, under the Obama administration, under the Bush, under the Clinton. The very same things are happening. The cycles are continuing. So this goes on for quite a while, and I would strongly suggest that you all get a look at it because this is an important moment for us to understand. You know, even though we have people who are in power who could make a difference, our system is set up that those in power will allow an unjust system to continue because they benefit from it. I'm going to say that again. People in power will allow an unjust system to continue because they benefit from inequality. The people who contribute to them benefit from inequality. And this is why we have so far been unable to address inequality in African American communities, but poor people all over the United States now are suffering, and inequality is at an extreme level. We have politicians like the guy I'm running against, Brett Guthrie, is number 3 in Congress in terms of accepting money from large pharmaceutical companies. Now, no surprise, he does all sorts of errands for the pharmaceutical industry. He proposes things that new classes of medications, for example, to be used in treatment of addiction. And while this is a good thing, it's only the programs that make a profit for his contributors that he's very concerned about. David Royce is here, and we've been ongoing discussing the idea of providing maintenance doses for opioid addicts. Now, maintenance doses could be very, very inexpensive. They wouldn't cost what a brand new patent medication to help with rehab would cost. There wouldn't be nearly as much profit available for the contributors to Mitch McConnell or to Brett Guthrie or to the rest of those that take money from large corporations. So we are at this moment where the public is very focused on justice reform, in terms of the way the police interact with our society, in terms of the way police interact with the African American families and citizens here in the United States. And we have a possibility, we are at the moment of a possibility of change, and it is about to happen. I can feel it happening even in Kentucky. I am feeling support for President Trump to drop away. Now, I want to show you there's still plenty of crazy, crazy thoughts that are available in the extreme right wing of the Republican Party, which is not that far from where Trump is. Let's have a look at this. So this is from a tweet. QAnon, which is a conspiracy theory, has now got their second Republican Senate nomination this cycle. And this is just crazy. So this is a group that is so far to the extreme right that I don't think there's even really a parallel on the extreme left. I'm not sure that there's a parallel that I'm able to think of. So they still like they're crazy, and that's still plenty available. Now, let's also be clear. Republicans like Mitch McConnell, Republicans like Brett Guthrie enable the craziness of the Trump administration and also the craziness of QAnon to go on. The idea that someone connected to President Trump, was it Jared Kushner, is someone is claiming Joe Biden is a child molester or something. It's not based on any truth at all. They're just saying this to see if they can get people to react. And I think a lot of Republicans are getting the picture because they are quietly, they're getting very quiet. We still have the extremists who say things. I saw a Republican commenting on an article today saying that Barack Obama was bisexual or homosexual. I'm not sure which. What does it matter? As far as I could tell, President Obama was a cisgender, as far as I could tell. But the idea that you can just throw mud and hope something sticks is where we are right now. There's going to come a moment when people like Brett Guthrie suddenly go, oh, well, I was against this all along. Well, Brett, where is it? Where is the moment where you step up and object to the things that President Trump has said about the military? When are you going to say that? When are you going to come out and say that someone in President Trump's family referring to Joe Biden as a sex offender, as a child molester, is beyond the pale? There's going to come a moment where Republicans try to say, yeah, we couldn't do anything. I'll just say BS, but you know what I want to say. So that moment is coming. A moment of reckoning is coming. I hope that Democrats here in Kentucky are willing, and Republicans too, are willing to accept that it is time for Trump to go away. And it is also time for his enablers to go away, the people that were more interested in money and power. We've been talking about Mitch McConnell has something like, $34 million since he entered the Senate with no money. Brett Guthrie entered the House with under $500,000, and one estimate we have seen on opensecrets.org, they're not sure, looks like it's close to $11 million. We just don't know. These are people that are interested in money and power, and they will never deal with inequality. They will never deal with reforming our justice system. They will never give working people a fair shake. They will never do what needs to be done in rural Kentucky and rural America. So it is time for a change. Okay, I'm ranting just a little bit. Thank you all. Mary Richardson is asking if Brett Guthrie would debate me. He so far is not interested at all in debating. I'm not surprised. He's refused to debate. So no, he won't be involved in any debating. Again, that's no surprise. The moment he debates, he knows that he's projecting weakness. So his best move, honestly, is to not debate. Now, I got something else to announce. Oh, first, let's get a look at, whoops, wrong picture. Give me a sec. Mark Lapalm will be with us tomorrow. Mark is the founder of Isaiah House, which is an organization that provides rehab for addicts in the state of Kentucky. They've got multiple locations, and I believe they have 250 employees at this point. Pam and I were fortunate last year to attend their first banquet, and we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Mark is a very compassionate human being. I'm going to warn you ahead of time. Mark is probably pretty conservative, and he's probably a Republican, but I just like the guy. And we seem to get along really well. And we're going to talk about addiction, the changing face of addiction, the changing job of providing rehab, the difficulties of it. And I don't know if he's going to talk for 20 minutes. I'm going to let him know we can stay longer if he wants. And I want to point out we are not going to settle very, very much during a 20-minute discussion or even a longer discussion. But we're going to start to scratch at the surface of where we are with addiction in Kentucky and in the United States. And I think that's going to be a fascinating discussion. So I strongly suggest you all show up tomorrow. It should be very interesting. The other thing I want to tell you about is we are going to do some virtual fundraisers starting not this weekend, but the weekend after. So that means I'm going to be asking musician friends to be part of it. I'm talking to you, Mark Andes. I don't know. I think Mark was here, but I'm not sure. Mark Andes, Mark Maselli, Roy, You would be great to be part of it. Sylvia. Anyway, there's going to be a way to do this. We're going to have some music performances. We'll have phone calls, and we'll be doing fundraisers starting on the 26th and 27th. So that's a week from this Saturday and Sunday. More details to follow. Mark is there. And Mark, I hope you're volunteering to be part of the fundraiser. You could play some music. We'd love to have you there. And if there are any other musicians who'd like to get in touch with me about being part of this, please get in touch. I think we're going to be doing Jerry Goodman. My goodness. Jerry Goodman, the legendary Jerry Goodman will join us. Oh my God. You all think I'm kidding. Jerry Goodman is the legendary violinist, fiddle player, electric violin from the Mahavishnu Orchestra and from the Dixie Dregs. And Jerry is a certifiable genius. He's also certifiable, but he's a certified genius. And and the Flock. Mark Maselli says, yes, the Flock. So Jerry, you are on, my brother. You are on. Anyway, so yes, let's put some music together. Let's have some fun and help me raise some money because we're going to need some money to be able to pay for some advertising. And we need to have some fun while we're doing it. Jerry's rolling his eyes. Jerry, I'm certifiable too, I think. So we share that. Are you still in, Jerry, or did I cross a line? Jerry, I hope you're still in. Okay. Anyway, that would be so exciting. Bill McNichol will play, and I'm going to reach out to the Merry Pranksters. I'll reach out to, I've got a few other folks that are here in the 2nd District in particular that I want to reach out to. So we're going to have a great time. It'll be nothing but fun, and I've just announced it. I don't have any idea how we're going to do it yet, but we'll worry about that. Jerry says, oh, yes. Far out, brother. Okay. I'm so glad. Okay. Let's change this world. Let's make this world a better place. And just because you're getting angry doesn't mean you get to act like a damn fool. You want to use your anger to build up your determination, to build up your focus, because we've got a lot of work to do, and the election is only part of it. This doesn't end at the election. We've got work to do. We've got to save the planet. We've got, Mark Maselli asked Tom, I need the pranksters. We've got a lot of work to do, and it's not going to end at the election. No matter how the election turns out, that's not the end. The work begins. The work continues. We're in the middle of it now. Look at what's going on in California. And I didn't share the picture. In Kentucky, Kentucky is going to suffer as climate change occurs. We're going to see very high humidity, very high temperatures, and it's going to be very difficult. We'll talk about that tomorrow or the day after. On Friday, I think we've got John Winkleman coming back to talk about healthcare, to talk about single payer and various approaches. Next week, who do we have? I've got someone. I can't remember. I think it's the Kentucky Students for Democratic Society. I'm not positive. So anyway, more and more guests coming. Here we go. Bless you all. Thank you all for being here. I'm Hank Linderman. I love doing this. Love you all. And I'll see you when I see you. All right.